There sure is, Steve. Michelle, as you mentioned, we continue to see these record-breaking numbers, and Governor Inslee says these measures are about stopping the spread everywhere we possibly can. This, of course, means that people will be out of work. And today he expressed confidence that there is enough money in state unemployment benefits to go around, and he is optimistic that we won't see the same headaches and problems with getting those dollars pushed out like we did before.
We have a pandemic raging across our state.
From Spokane to Seattle, COVID-19 cases are surging. Speaking from the state capitol today, Governor Jay Inslee issuing sweeping rollbacks on businesses to slow its spread, a move he says was not easy.
Time is of the essence here. What we know is if you act early, you can save lives. And if you don't, you'll be swamped by a tsunami of this virus.
With the number of daily infections climbing, so too is hospital occupancy.
Especially concerning is that during the past week, the number of patients currently in our hospitals with COVID-19 increased about 40%.
And inside of those hospitals, stories of burnout.
We've been in this pandemic for 8 months now, and we are exhausted. We are tired. I've been an ICU nurse for close to 20 years now, and this is as busy as I've seen it.
For the hardships facing small businesses, the governor says these restrictions must happen or the problem will only be prolonged.
We make a decision whether this pandemic is going to swallow us whole. We make a decision whether we're going to eventually recover our economy.
The governor has promised $50 million in federal aid and says he'll continue looking for new ways to fund grants. He's also calling on Congress to step up and extend those federal unemployment benefits, saying that for now, the state's reserves are in good shape, adding that the Employment Security Department, once riddled with trouble, expects to be able to handle this next wave of those out of work.
They have ramped up dramatically their capacity. And there's sort of a stable backlog at the moment.
Yeah, mixed reaction to say the least, Michelle. The medical industry is saying these are great decisions made by the governor because it's some of the best ways that we can help curb the spread of the virus. But those in the hospitality industry say this may be one of the final nails in the coffin for many businesses.
We think that we're being treated unfairly with the data.
This is a heartbreaking moment for Blazing Onion restaurant owner David Jones.
We have a large group that we're not going to be able to bring back. And that's a big deal.
Because he and many other restaurateurs are having to figure out the next steps for their businesses after Governor Inslee announced no indoor dining would be allowed starting Wednesday. Many have already closed from the initial shutdown in the spring, and Jones fears that will only be accelerated by these new restrictions.
They're doing it because they don't want to take a chance, and they're hurting a lot of businesses.
Though Jones and the Washington Hospitality Association cite restaurants have only made up 0.5% of positive cases, the state says the data is inconclusive right now because of contact tracing difficulties.
The governor's effort today, while not easy, is necessary.
President of the Washington State Medical Association, Dr. Nathan Schlicker, says we're in a situation right now where these restrictions are important to limit the virus's spread.
Despite all the work that's been done, COVID doesn't respect our best efforts. It finds our weaknesses.
But if you talk with Jones or Hospitality Association CEO Anthony Anton, they say the weaknesses aren't in their industry.
People need help now. The best relief is a job, and we know we can do this job safely.
This is a Washington citizen issue, a Washington business owner issue. It's no longer Republican, Democrat. The election's over. This is about the people.
It's going to be brutal on us.
Another round of COVID-19 restrictions will hurt, says Eduardo Jordan. He owns 3 restaurants in the Seattle area: Solare, June Baby, and Lucinda.
I actually have only been doing takeout in my restaurants because I want to support us being smart and being healthy.
In April, during the first stay-at-home order in Washington state, restaurants and hotels lost 191,000 jobs. 100,000 hospitality workers gradually returned to work. Restaurants are now operating at 50% capacity. Another shutdown, though, could be devastating, according to the Washington Hospitality Association's president and CEO.
If we have to shut down again, that means we're going to lose those 100,000 jobs.
The association says 35% of restaurants in Washington state could close permanently, and that number could dramatically increase with another extended stay-at-home order.
Sadly, Lucinda's been closed. I'm not really sure what's going to be the fate of Lucinda. It might be included in that 35% of the restaurants that close permanently, to be brutally honest about everything.
As for Jordan's 2 other restaurants,
to be able to go into a shutdown and a lockdown, we're going to need the assistance of our government and our city leaders to be able to get us through these hard times. We still got to pay rent. We still pay business insurance. We still pay our electricity bill. And we don't have the same revenue that we had before.
in Seattle, Suzanne Fawn, KOMO News.
Tough times indeed.
Preston, most of the people that we talk to in this terminal say they simply can't manage this request. They say 2 weeks is too long, and they think there are better ways to slow the spread of coronavirus. If the West Coast governors had their way, these people wouldn't be boarding airplanes right now. The governors are asking for a complete pause on non-essential travel. And at a minimum, the people quarantined for 2 weeks once they arrive.
I mean, we're only going down to California for a week. So, turn around and be back in a week. And also, we can't stay down there 2 weeks, and this trip was already planned. Most of the travelers passing through SeaTac say they want to do the right thing, but going into seclusion after a trip just wouldn't work out.
I think it's very needed if we want to stop the pandemic, but I don't know how feasible and how realistic that is.
The request from the governors comes as the holidays approach and air travel is expected to boom. TSA screened more than 18,000 departing passengers each day this week. By Thanksgiving, that's expected to jump as high as 29,000 passengers each day. Some people who have to travel are ready to do their part.
It's like, well, I guess I'm staying home for 2 weeks, so, but I can work from home, food delivery and stuff like that.
There won't be any enforcement on this new travel advisory. State officials are relying on people to use their better judgment. Some think there has to be a better way.
I think if anything, we should, get a test. When you fly there, get a test. See if you have it. If you have it, then quarantine.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for checking out our YouTube page. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell from the KOMO Weather Team. You can see more of our videos right here by clicking on the video links for additional news from the Seattle area and Western Washington. Oh, and don't forget to click the subscribe button below so you don't ever miss our YouTube updates.